The Jordan 4 Bred Reimagined is having a shock drop soon, but there's actually a lot more ways to have an edge on copying these than just that shock drop alone. And so today, we're going to be discussing that in addition to many more tips and tricks on multiple websites that are going to be dropping these Jordan 4 Breds, and we'll also discuss resale predictions for these at the end, but I think all of us could agree we need these for the toe. The Jordan 4 Bred Reimagined is going to be dropping on February 17th for $215, but again, there is going to be an early shock drop before that. Now, specifically, there is going to be 200,000 men's pairs dropping, but 50,000 of those men's pairs are going to be reserved for the shock drop. As always, I'll be posting the precise time and date inside of my group Endurance, which you could join with the link below. And that's not even the best shock drop that we're going to be seeing within the next couple of weeks. With that said though, let's jump into how to cop these. As of now, for the shock drop, it is set for a Leo, aka let everyone order. In other words, this is a draw where you have 2 minutes to get in all of your entries. However, it is of course subject to change, and if it does change, it would then change to a 10-minute raffle, which would give you some more time to enter, of course, but as of now, it is still set for a Leo. But anyway, if you don't have the early info, you could still have a good chance of copying if you follow me on Twitter, KeithAdam10, because I do tweet out as soon as it does go live, and the link is up. So if you're not an Endurance member and you don't have access to the early info, at least follow on Twitter. This way you get the urgent notification instantly, and unlike a lot of the other Twitter accounts, I'm not going to spam you with a bunch of useless bricks. Now, for the actual release on the 17th, in order to prepare, first of all, what you should definitely be doing is making sure that you sign up for Flex app reservations. This is one of the best ways to always consistently get pairs, as well as asking your local foot stores about their procedure for the leftover pairs that people don't pick up. Finish Line and JD should also be doing status access, which should be a couple of days before the actual drop. There should be online status access as well as in-store, and for both of them, of course, you do have a pretty good chance of copying because Finish Line and JD get pretty good stock. But now, let's move on to the first come first serve online releases, which should be starting at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on February 17th. Since there's a lot to focus on at this time, I'm going to guide you and suggest to you how to efficiently manage your time as usual. First, I would suggest going for Hibbett as your first come first serve choice at precisely 10 a.m. Eastern Time on the dot, since Hibbett is one of these sites that will sell out quickly, but you do have a really good manual chance here. Now, when you do try to go for Hibbett, you might get the press and hold capture loop, so just some tips to prevent that loop, just like we've discussed in prior how to cop guides. Go to the coming soon page first on your Hibbett calendar right before 10 a.m. Click the Jordan 4, then scroll down slowly until you see the sizes. If you scroll too quickly, you will likely keep getting caught in that captcha loop. My biggest advice in general, though, is to use Apple Pay on your mobile device for the most efficient checkout. So that's right, you will be using your mobile device to go for Hibbett. Or as an alternative to Hibbett, if you want a different first come first serve site to go for at 10 a.m., you could choose 1 or 2 Shopify sites to try. You could consider trying Shoe Palace or Shop Nice Kicks. They tend to be slightly less difficult than the other Shopify sites, but keep in mind the shipping is very high there, usually around $20. Regardless though, I do believe that all these Shopify sites are significantly harder chances than Hibbett. Personally, I'd really push you towards going for Hibbett at precisely 10 a.m. But right after those first come first serve drops are over, or even while you're hypothetically waiting in a Shopify queue, I then want you guys to try to enter in as many sneakers accounts into the drop as possible. This is going to be your #1 chance by far for copying these, of course, because there's going to be the majority of stock here, even following a lot of the stock initially dropping via shock drop earlier than this. So these should be dropping via Leo, also known as let everyone order, which we just discussed. It's essentially like a 2-minute draw, and within those 2 minutes you want to try to enter in as many accounts as possible. Obviously, to make multiple accounts you would need unique phone numbers, so if you don't already have multiple accounts made, try to ask your friends or family members if you could use their phone number. All they would have to do is forward you a verification code. If they don't already have a Nike account, might as well, right? It only will increase your chances more. My biggest advice with these multiple accounts though is to use as many unique devices as possible. If you have 3 iPhones, 3 iPads, whatever, make sure to use all those, because I do tend to notice accounts have higher chances when they stay on these same devices. I made a whole video on this, which I'll leave a link for at the end of today's if you want to check it out. Now, after sneakers, you normally want to shift your focus to periodically checking Finish Line, JD Sports, and Snipes to see if you've passed a queue, because all those releases are not first come first serve. They're going to have waiting rooms. And also, just a reminder again that Finish Line and JD should be doing status access, so look out for that. Now, regarding Snipes, if you passed a queue here, it's definitely possible to cop manually, but passing manually is the hard part. Now with my bot Gargantua AIO, you could generate bypass links, so it's always a cookout for users, but it's still possible to patch naturally too, just very low probability. Foot sites are definitely not worth your time at all. They will be impossible manually as always. And for finish line and JD, just one big tip, make sure you only open up one tab for each of them. They are very sensitive to IP banning. If you try to open up 3 or 4, you're probably going to get banned, and then you're not going to be able to cop at all. Now, if you have access to a Nordstrom monitor, if you're an Endurance member, for example, keep an eye on Nordstrom around 10:01 to 10:02 because they do tend to drop late sometimes, so keep an eye on the monitor, or you could even try refreshing the page manually if you have access to the early link. But with US sites out of the way, now just briefly moving on to some Europe sites. Although many Europe retailers do tend to do raffles, there will still be some opportunities. Of course, the best drop for Europe is going to be Nike sneakers at 9 a.m. CET. Just like the US, these should be a Leo release. It is extremely likely that Soulbox and Snipes will both be dropping at 9 a.m. CET as usual, and if you have access to a Soulbox or Snipes monitor, you will have a decent chance at copying manually there too. I would also suggest making accounts beforehand, obviously, and making sure you're signed in. Zalando might also potentially drop. They haven't loaded them yet, so we'll see. And then Offspring might potentially drop, but they haven't in a very long time, so I wouldn't depend on that. Foot Locker will also be dropping, but there isn't much manual chance here anyway, so don't put much focus there. But that's it for the how to cop portion of the guide. For resale, stock on these is going to be quite high, but this is again an iconic Jordan 4 colorway. When the Jordan 4 Bred in the nubuck material, the normal material, redropped back in 2019, they resold for quite a bit. They resold for around $280 to $290 initially, allowing for some decent profit, and I do think that that'll probably be the case for these as well, even though this is reimagined, even though it is a new material. Contrary to the Jordan 1 Royal Reimagined, I don't think it's going to deter too many people from buying them. I don't think many people really mind the leather look on these. If anything, it makes them durable. Personally, I definitely prefer the original look with the nubuck, but it's not enough for me to not purchase these. At least I would expect there to be some small profit, at least lunch money on these with a decent margin, especially on the large sizes 10 and above. And these are definitely going to be great local movers too. If you could sell off platforms and avoid fees, you'll make some really good money off these. And since there's a lot of stock, you could probably get a lot of pairs too. So this is looking like a really solid opportunity for reselling, but I think all of us definitely need this pair in our collection, especially if you don't have the original Jordan 4 Bred. But anyway, that's going to conclude it for today. If you could leave a like if you enjoyed, or maybe if you learned a thing or two. Also, for completely free sneaker guides, check out the link below, and you also get one free channel from Endurance in that, which is currently the free Chick-fil-A channel. Yes, I'll show you guys how you can get Chick-fil-A for completely free with a quick little trick. Anyway, have a great rest of your day, and of course, good luck on this release.